With the upcoming new Sonic racing game Crossworlds coming out soon, and the surprise revival of Sonic Riders characters and gear, I ventured back to a time when Sega was trying to do something other than kart races with the characters' racing ventures. No generic cars, but hoverboards. When it released, Riders was received pretty negatively since Sonic was going through his rough patch, but these days it's looked back on flawed, sure, but stylish and unique. So let's head back and hop on the extreme gear and see how it holds up. When you first boot up the game, you're greeted with an incredibly stylish and memorable intro, flashy colours, unique art style, and a soundtrack that will set the tone for the game to come. The game starts off with various modes: normal racing, Grand Prix modes, story, multiplayer modes, and a mission mode which unlocks when you have beaten the story. The story of Riders follows two teams, the heroes made up of Sonic, Tails and Knuckles, and the trio's new rivals for the game, the Babylon Rogues, Jet the Hawk, Wave the Swallow and Storm the Albatross. The hero story begins with the team encountering the Rogues to set up a bit of rivalry between Sonic and Jet. Eggman shortly after announces a racing tournament. The entry fee? A Chaos Emerald. Sonic just goes, yeah sure, I'll give you this magic emerald that you're always after. What could possibly go wrong? From there we follow the team through 5 races with a bit of setup in cutscenes beforehand. Each team member of the Rogues is essentially a counterpart to one of Sonic's team. Sonic has Jet, Tails has Wave, and Knuckles has Storm. I also feel bad for Tails here, because he makes a super neat hoverboard for Sonic, and Wave just laughs in his face.
Well, I never imagined anyone would enter the race with such a piece of junk. Thanks though, it was good for a laugh.
Later you see in the story she was actually impressed by it, but I still feel bad for the guy. The story ends with Sonic losing his race against Jet, and Jet summons a giant floating island, yes another one, home to the ancient Babylon Rogues, which is supposed to hold a treasure of some kind. Eggman shows his obvious hand and steals Jet's summoning crystal, and makes his getaway to the island, with Sonic and Jet's team both giving chase, giving you the final race of the story. The hero story is pretty light overall, mostly setting up a rivalry between the two groups, and giving you an excuse to race. The Rogue story shows a different side of the story, with Eggman working with them to obtain the treasure of the Babylons. Here it's mostly the same as Team Sonic's story, however the Rogues get some extra races thrown in there, with you playing as Sonic for the final boss against this genie looking fella. Cutscenes are between each tracks like the hero story, showing you a little bit about who each character is, their role within the team, and their relationship with each other. Jet being the cocky leader, Wave being the mechanic, and Storm being the big silly boy. Out of the two stories, I found the Rogues to be the more unique, I guess. Team Sonic is very traditional, with them mostly just trying to suss out who the Rogues are and what Eggman's up to, and the only comedic parts really coming from Sonic and Amy moments, whereas the Rogues tend to be a bit more diving into the history of the Babylons themselves and winding each other up.
Buddy, it's not the board. Your skills just suck.
What? Suck?
Yes, S-U-C-K, suck.
Stop it!
Something I've always liked with Riders is instead of just plopping Sonic characters into the world, they've given them their own unique look to fit the theme of extreme gear, giving the characters glasses, goggles, and some bigger boot-like shoes, just to make them fit in a bit more, rather than just here's Sonic, but he's on a hoverboard now. And the art style they use for the images of the characters is just wonderful. It's very unique and very cool. Onto the gameplay for Riders. It's a racing game with the unique twist of instead of it being cars and karts, you're using hoverboards, or extreme gear as the game likes to call them. At the start of each race, you'll start on foot, with you having to time it right, building up speed to exit as soon as the light bar lets you. Time it just right and you blast off nice and early. Too early however, and you'll get electrocuted. Once on the move, there's no accelerate button, it's just movement, drifting, jumping and boosting. The big mechanic here is the game's air system. Shown in the bar on the right hand side of the screen, every action you do uses an amount of air. Drifting, jumping, boosting, all use air. You run out, you're back on foot. I would say that's not ideal for a race, but these are Sonic characters. To get back on the board, you have to either do a jump and do a trick, grab a capsule with air in it, or stop at one of these little air stations dotted around the tracks. This is a mechanic that does take some getting used to, as you're not only worrying about your speed, but your resources. You can increase the gauge by leveling up during a race. At the top left of the screen you can see when you gain your next upgrade. Rings are used for this, so collecting as many as you can during the race is incredibly beneficial, as it allows you to be more aggressive with your moves. On top of all that, Riders does have a few other quirks. Each character has their own type. Very much like Sonic Heroes, Sonic is speed, Tails is flight, and Knuckles is power. Each type can utilise different shortcuts throughout the stages. Speed can use grind rails, which for the longest time I didn't know how to use as a kid. You just double tap the jump button and you're on the rail. Though these can be pretty awkward at times and sometimes it just won't work. Grind rails in a Sonic game being annoying, how different. Flight characters can use specific ramps that let them jump and start flying through the air through these predetermined rings to fly over segments of stages. And the power type can just punch through stuff. This gives each character a different way of playing the stage, and a new thing to learn and try as you try different characters out. As some shortcuts do help, but I found some slow you down a bit, or make some areas of the tracks more difficult than they otherwise would be. If you fall behind in Riders, the leader will be leaving a turbulent stream behind them, allowing you to head on in and get a free boosted ride, do tricks and get some extra air. You can, in very specific areas, use the turbulent stream to get into different areas. The mechanic is used as a bit of a catch-up mechanic, and a way to try and keep those falling behind competitive. The game doesn't offer any offensive items. You're not throwing out shells or dropping traps behind you. In capsules, you'll obtain air, a speed boost, a ball and chain to slow you down, and sometimes if you're a fair bit behind, you'll get an invincibility power-up. Your main method of attack in Riders is boosting into enemies, which will allow you to automatically attack them, removing all of their rings and unleveling them. What I like about this is each time you level up a character, they gain a different way of attacking. I don't think it's ever too major, it's more of just an animation change. So for example, Sonic will just hit someone as his first attack, with his second being the spin dash. It gives some characters a bit of extra flair to them, and it makes them feel like they're changing throughout the race. I do like that some attacks are just there because they needed to have an attack. Knuckles yells at people and Jet sneezes on people. Throughout the tracks you'll come across jump ramps. These are awkward. I've never really mastered these throughout the years. I believe the longer you hold the button down, the higher you will go, but I don't know. Sometimes I'll make a really high jump and reach some of the higher areas you can get to. Other times I won't. While jumping you can do tricks to gain some extra air once you land safely. Granted, you land safely. You can mess this up and slow yourself down. There are 13 tracks in the game, most of them are counterparts to each other. For example, the heroes play through a daytime version of Future City, while the rogues go through a nighttime version of it. They are different tracks, they're just the same area. The tracks are all pretty nice, and even though they share the same themes, the different styles they go with makes them feel different enough. Sonic Riders is an incredibly difficult game to begin with a huge learning curve. The boards are tough to control at times, timing on drifting can be very tight especially on the later stages where one wrong move can send you flying off the edge of the track, and the AI is pretty ruthless. Once it's ahead, it's pretty much gone, and it's incredibly difficult to catch back up. With most of the story missions requiring you to get first place, you may be restarting a lot. I certainly was on these later races. Some tracks will break apart unexpectedly, causing you to fall, or they have pretty essential shortcuts to take that are a pain to actually get to. But once you get into the flow of it and learn the tracks, it's a very fun game. The sense of speed you get in this game I don't think has ever been matched in another Sonic racing game, especially the sequels to Riders. The game, as I said earlier, does offer more than just a story. You have some multiplayer modes like a survival or just racing, a mission mode that will task you to perform certain tasks like do a certain amount of tricks, dodge cars and so on. Plenty of content to keep you busy if you so choose. We also have a store that offers a wide variety of extreme gear, more hoverboards, skates, and even little scooters. You can also unlock more characters as you play. Once you've beaten the story, Cream, Rouge, Shadow and Eggman unlock, with more being unlocked via mission mode and Grand Prix mode. Some Eggman robots become available, II, Knights and Ulala also become available to play. You can even unlock 2 extra tracks, so there is a ton of stuff to do and unlock in the game, granted you enjoy the tracks available and the gameplay itself. Sonic Riders overall is my personal favourite Sonic racing game. It's the direction I wish they went in rather than using cars later on. The hoverboard just matches Sonic's vibe and tone. He's always snowboarding and nabbing bits of metal to ride on. It's just very fitting for the character. The game has its janky moments, it's an old Sonic game from that time, but whenever I go back to it, it's always a great time. And to those asking why is Sonic not just running, it's a hoverboard. It's very cool. Cars, not so much. So anyway, thank you for watching and I will see you next time.